Hello and welcome back to the Lincoln Loco 2. Today, a change of schedule because of the change of events. There's a lot to tell you about since last episode, so I suppose we just get straight into it. First of all, though, I do want to apologise for last episode. I know it was a bit pieced together in the end. I recorded the whole thing, and then I don't know why. I've had some issues with the recording software recently. Sometimes the camera doesn't want to work. Yesterday, the microphone just seemed to stop working for some reason, so I'll have to investigate kind of what's going on. But hopefully yesterday's episode kind of made up. Because of yesterday's episode, though, I feel like I've not spoken to you properly for a while, and there's a lot to tell you about. So today's episode, probably slightly longer than normal, unless the games are really boring, then maybe it won't be slightly longer, but I want to talk to you about a lot of things first. First of all, I want to talk to you about what's been going on recently in terms of results. It's been pretty positive. Now, we did go through last episode the results in between episodes, although I feel like I didn't really connect with you about it because I did it very briefly. And then, of course, last episode you saw us beat rivals Grimsby 3-1 with Jonathan Brown scoring 2 and Joseph Hall with 1, and we beat Dover 4-2, Mark Mason scoring all 4 of the goals. Immediately after that, we played Alfreton in the FA Cup 4th qualifying round, Mason with 2 and Brown with the other one within the first half hour or so, secured the win for us, putting us into the first round for the second season in a row, which was really, really good. We then came up against Blythe in the league, getting our second draw of the season after Mark Mason rescued it for us. I say rescued it, that was a decent game. A draw was probably the correct result, to be fair. I would have been upset if we'd lost it, but I would have been, thinking, we've probably got a bit lucky here if we won this game. So a draw was probably the correct result. We then went away to Northampton and played one of the best games I've seen us play all season, with Turiak, Brown and Douglas Hurst all getting on the score sheets there to make sure we picked up the 3 points. We then, though, capitulated at Aldershot away from home, losing 2-0. They are chasing promotion, Aldershot. They're a very decent side, so they're expected to beat us, and they sort of walked all over us, to be fair. So, fair play to Aldershot. After that, in the FA Cup first round, we had a very favourable tie against Wrexham, who are in the playoffs in our division. They took the lead. We're looking like they're probably going to win the game until their man got sent off in the 88th minute. We went full attack, and then Danny Douglas Hurst scores in the 93rd minute to level things up against Wrexham to bring it to a replay at our place. 10 days later, the replay was going to be played, so in between that, we played Dagenham and Redbridge in what was a really good game. We were 4-0 up in 65 minutes with Douglas Hurst, Belcher, Howell and Mason scoring goals. They then got a man sent off and then scored 2 goals, which doesn't really make much sense, but they did. We still beat them though, picked up the 3 points. Wrexham then came to us for the FA Cup replay, which we duly won with Belcher scoring the winner in the 85th minute. The game was also on TV, so we picked up about £35,000 in terms of TV revenue. We picked up a lot of money from that first leg because there was nearly 6,000 people at the Wrexham game. We get half the revenue, so we picked up a lot of money there. So for the first time in probably since we started the series, we're in positive figures now. We'll look at the finances in a minute. The next 2 league games, though, were pretty disastrous. Chester, who are chasing promotion, they're right at the top of the table, I think, or a point off the top of the table. They beat us 3-0 really convincingly, and Hartlepool, who were sitting actually below us in the table at the time, just came to our place and did us dirty, really. Beat us 2-0 in a game that we should have won. We had enough chances to win it, but didn't capitalise on any of them. Hartlepool did their bit, won the game. What that means for the table is that we sit 11th, pretty mid-table, a good 7 points off the playoffs, but 10 points away from relegation. So we're sitting very nicely. If you told me at the start of the season, 20 games in, we'll be 11th, I'd have bitten your hand off. We've made 2 more additions to the squad as well. Before last episode, Kenise Carroll came in from Scunthorpe, but because of the issues with last episode, we didn't introduce you to him. So Kenise Carroll comes in from Scunthorpe on a free transfer after they wanted to sell him. We bid £0. They accepted it. He wanted to come to us. There we go. Irish chap with 9 under 21 caps for them as a right back, but can also play centre back as well, is a really, really good player. He's got 3.5 star current ability at right back, but 3-star current ability at centre back. And apparently, actually, it's the best centre back we've got in terms of star ability. I wouldn't say that. I'd say Jack Wakely is the best one, of course, and I'm sure you'd say that as well. Has never played in non-league before, so this is the first club that he's playing for in non-league, which is nice to see. Played plenty of games in the Football League for a lot of clubs as well, so I'm quite happy with this acquisition. I think he's going to be a great player for us. The other player that we brought in is Josh Coley. Now, we tried to sign him right at the start of a transfer window, but he just didn't want to come to us because he didn't think that we were good enough and we couldn't pay him enough money. That's why I brought Spencer Keller in at the last second, because we thought we're not going to get this guy. We'll get Spencer Keller instead. But no one else bought him, and he's become available at a relatively cheap price. When we first bid for him, he wanted 1.5k per week. Josh Coley, the left-sided winger, is now on £350 per week at the club for the next 2 seasons. 3-star current ability, 3.5-star potential. The report said he was 4-star current ability, 4-star potential, but I suppose at this level, the reports aren't always accurate. But he's still better than what we've already got there in that position. Spencer Keller, already slightly better. So, Josh Coley, who has played 33 games last season in League 2, and the season before that played 30 games in League 1, is coming to us. And I think that's a great deal. He's got some really good Football League experience playing at a high level. So I think he's going to be a really great addition to the squad. On to the finances then. We are £52,000 in the black, which is fantastic. It was the first time, I think, since here, right at the end, I think, of 2022, we were £9,000 in the black. Other than that, we've always been in debt pretty much, but now we're finally back in some sort of good figures after we've made £100,000 off gates this month from the FA Cup games mostly, and £34,000 from TV money, a lot of money from matchday income as well, and a lot of money from prize money. So we've done very well this month. What that means is I'm going to try and make the most of it. Usually the board just say no to everything, but now we're slightly but now we've actually got a little bit of money in the bank. I do want to try and use it to benefit myself. So first of all, we're going to go onto me. Where am I? Up here somewhere. My profile. I want to start a coaching course. Please let me go on a coaching course. I've not been on one since the very start of this whole journey. I need to get on one. Please let me do it. And finally, we're delighted to grant your request. Fantastic. I'm going to be going on a coaching course, so that will really help me boost my stats a little bit, and hopefully it'll be good for the team as well. There's also another big step that I want the club to take. Now, we are a semi-professional club, which means we're part-time. All our players are part-time. The training is part-time, so we don't train full-time. We train like 2 times a week. It's annoying, especially when other clubs in our league are professional. If we want to be securing promotion, I think the best way to do that is becoming a professional club. Now, £50,000 in the black, I don't think the board will let us become professional, but it's worth asking, I think. So, professional status. Please, 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 let us become a professional squad to get better players. Now, of course, they say no. So, the fans are behind me and want the same for the club. They still say no. After all I've done for raising the profile, it's the least you could do for me. They still say no. There's a lack of ambition. It's very disappointing. They still say no. If this request isn't granted, I can see the club being left behind by our rivals. Still say no. I can't stress enough how important I believe it to be. Still say no. I'm not gonna say I can't continue my job if you don't do it, because I don't want to risk that, because they'll probably say no. Can't pretend I'm not disappointed. I do understand. That's kind of what I expected, but it was worth a try. The board, though, have offered me a new contract, so we're going to go for it. Obviously, that makes sense, but this is the first time they're offering me a 2-year deal. Every contract's been a 1-year deal. This one is 2 years, so let's negotiate this contract. The existing contract is £350 per week. I'm going to try and save the club some money and go for... I'm going to go for 300. I just want to save the club money. Let's get rid of some of these clauses as well, because that'll also save the club some money as well, apart from the relegation wage drop. I want to save money. That's all I want to do, because I want to get new training facilities and things like that and become professionals. So we have to save money, and if I can make a sacrifice, I hope the players can too. Finalise that deal then, I've got a brand new contract at the club. Right, all of that is now out of the way. We've looked at fixtures, we've looked at things around the club, we've got a new contract. Now let's talk about today's episode. After winning the FA Cup fixtures against Wrexham and Alfreton respectively, we've got Rochdale away in the second round. So hopefully there'll be a big crowd. Hopefully we'll get some more money for it as well. And hopefully we'll cause a little bit of an upset. Rochdale are 8th or 7th in League 2. So by all accounts, flying high in League 2. So really should walk all over us. But we've been FA Cup giants, killers, kind of, not really in the past. We've done well in cups in the past, basically. Hopefully we can carry on and get a big away tie in the third round. After that, Hereford at home in the league. We were going to do Newport County and Wrexham, but Torquay game got moved in between, and I thought the Rochdale game was quite an important one as well to play, and we've played a lot of games in between episodes as well, so it just felt like this. So then this is the lineup for the game against Rochdale. We're going back to the 4-4-2 because I think this works very well against teams that are a lot better than us. So it worked very well last season in the FA Trophy against teams that were a lot better than us at the time. I think it might work today against Rochdale. So we're going to go for it. White is in goal with the back line of Dale. Walkley needs to become backing onto the pitch, doesn't he, for Clark Eden. He comes back on. Justin France there as well. Cook at right back as well. Turiak starting at left midfield with Howell and Belcher in the middle, with Griffiths coming in to the right-hand side of the pitch, although Douglas Hurst has been playing phenomenally well in between episodes. We'll talk about him more in the game. Brown is going to be our pressing forward, but Mark Mason starting as our advanced forward today. Both of them, I think they've got 20 goals between them now, or more than 20 goals between them this season so far. They're a strike force to be reckoned with. Hopefully, they'll tear Rochdale apart today. Right then, kickoff is upon us here today at Rochdale. It's a big game. We could go to the third round here and potentially draw a Premier League side. I think it's one of the best chances that we've got of making money this season as well. If, I'm really hoping that Rochdale draw a big crowd. If Wrexham can draw nearly 6,000, surely Rochdale can do the same. I'm just hoping that we can get a lot of money from this. We are, though, coming off the back of 2 defeats in the league, which is a little bit frustrating, but hopefully the team can book their ideas up as Turiak puts it in the back of the net very early on in today's game. His second of the season, assisted by Belcher, putting us 1-0 up in today's game so far. Slowly creeping towards that third round. For the most part, though, in between episodes and since last episode, we've played really, really well. Mark Mason leading the line beautifully. Jonathan Brown scoring a couple of goals in there as well. He's been playing very well. Turiak has sort of become more of our designated left-hand side player. If we're now playing with a winger, the new guy Coley is going to be on the wing, and Turiak's probably going to move to left back. I think he'll replace Dale. I just think Turiak's better. I like him more. He's a bit more versatile to have around the pitch, and of course, he scores goals. So he's a good player to have. The star player for me, though, has been Douglas Hurst. He has been phenomenal, the 19-year-old winger. He's been so good to the point where the scouts and coaches at our club now reckon he's got potential to be a League One player in future, as well as Mark Mason. So we've got 2 players who could be of League One quality if they play well, if they train well. Now, the issue we have is that we're not a professional club and our training facilities are very poor. So they're not going to get enough training, and the facilities aren't of a high enough standard to get them to that level. So I am a little bit worried that perhaps they're not going to fulfill their potential because of the lack of facilities and the lack of money we have at the club. So that's why I'm so keen to become professional. As I say that, Rochdale have just equalised as I gathered my breath, which is a bit unfortunate. Superb goal, by the way. Very, very good. But it does peg us back just before half-time. Now, if we get promoted into the Football League, we have to become a professional side by default. So that's one way of becoming a professional side. But to win the league or win the playoffs as a part-time squad that we are, that is going to be extremely difficult. Rochdale just got a penalty. I don't know what they've got the penalty for. What was that about? Okay, so they get a throw in, they put it forward, and I mean, what are they doing with it? Nothing. King puts it forward. I think Cook pushed someone in the area, and that's resulted in a penalty, which they have just scored. That is ridiculous. Come on. So we're going to go back to a more attacking formation. We're going to bring on then, right, what's the plan, Tommy? Douglas Hurst will come on for Griffiths. Josh Coley will come on for Dale. Who's more tired, Dale or Turiak? I'm likely to say Turiak. Turiak's more tired too. Dale will stay on the pitch at left back. Coley comes on left wing. And we'll move Mason up to that attacking midfield just for now. I think this could be the one to go for, but we'll swap him and Brown around. I think Brown is slightly better in that attacking midfield. So, they're the 2 changes that we'll make for now in the formation change. Hopefully, it works in our favour. If we hadn't given away that penalty, we would have been in a great shout of getting a replay and perhaps even progressing to the third round. So, I'm a bit disappointed with the way things seem to have turned out. We'll shout push forward out there as well, but I don't think there's really much I can do after those tactical changes and the substitutes we brought on. Nothing seems to be happening. Let's go very attacking for the final 5 minutes or so. I just don't think it's going to be enough. And by looks of things, Rochdale have just about got the better of us today, unfortunately. I think they've been very lucky with that penalty, and they've knocked us out of the cup. To say we've gone toe-to-toe, though, with a team in the playoffs from a division above us, that's very, very good. It's a good sign, I think, for the future. A very good sign for the future. Stevenage boss, though, is keeping tabs on Mark Mason, which is an issue. And it's also an issue because if you remember back to last season when for some reason he got really cross because he didn't improve the coaching staff, he doesn't want to sign a new contract yet. Now, there will be a mitigating factor to this. If we look at promises, he's currently happy with the club's coaching team and he's got 170 days left to please him. So once that's done and he's pleased, I think he'll then want to sign new contracts. So nothing much we can do now, but as long as that's green and that passes, I'm sure he'll sign new contracts. Hereford at home up next. They're 9th in the table, 2 places above us. So it's going to be a very close game. Getting 3 points here today is now even more important. So we're going to switch back to the winger formation. Mason's going to start up front for us. Turiak is going to come back to left back, although how tired is he? He's actually not too bad, so we'll leave him at left back. Coley is going to come on as the winger that we want. McCabe is going to come on as that CDM. And we're going to also bring on Douglas Hurst on the right-hand side of the pitch. Other than that, I think I'm happy. Belcher's looking a little bit tired, so I think we'll bring Hall on for him. Swap him and Howell around, of course, as well at the same time. That's a team that I am very happy with. That's a team that I think can beat Hereford. So let's go for it. Right then, kickoff is upon us here today at Ashby Avenue. Hereford, the team visiting us. They're a decent side with some decent players in their lineup. I know they've got some good players because I've scouted out a few of them. Vokins is a player I'd love to get. But I think we can beat them today. All we need to do is win it 1-0. That's all we need to do. As long as we get the 3 points, I don't care what the scoreline is. The 3 points is what's most important to me. If we have a quick look at the top of the table, as you can see down here, Harrogate are top with Chester and Carlisle not far behind. Aldershot and Wrexham both on 41 points as White collects the ball after the back pass. Wakely plays it back to White. A bit of a weird going on there at the back. I thought we were going to concede a goal there, but Coley coming forward, surrounded by players, puts the ball up to Mason to score the opening goal of the game with his 14th of the season. He grabs the opening goal of today's game, which temporarily puts us up to 10th, just behind Hereford on goal difference. As I was saying though, Wrexham to Harrogate, they're all 40 plus points. Yeovil on 39 is Eastleigh. That's the side that we're sort of targeting if we want to try and sneak into the playoffs towards the end of the season, because I think these top 6 sides, they're already starting to march on. But the top 5, definitely. The top 5 are 7 points clear of Crawley. So I think those kind of 5 teams are going to battle out for the title. We have, though, dominated this game so far. 10 shots to 1 shot. So I'm quite happy with things. Big attendance today as well of 729. That's quite healthy. We're still averaging above that 750 that I wanted at the start of the season. That has largely been due to teams like Wrexham and... they've just scored a goal, haven't they? That's... You hate to see that, but it's happened. As I was saying, though, it's mainly due to Wrexham and York bringing crowds of nearly 800 of their own fans that have sort of boosted our average attendance up that far. So we are just above 750, but I think if we didn't have such big away attendances for some teams, we'd be more down towards the 600 end. Hereford starting to come back into the game, which is a bit frustrating. So we need to reply out there. We need to do something. And I think what is potentially the way to go is we bring Belcher on for Hall because he's not played particularly well, but neither's Mick McCabe. Maybe we bring on another striker in Brown. Let's not play him as an attacking midfielder. Let's bring him on as a striker. Show him what he wants to do out there. He wants to be an advanced forward, but we'll bring him on as a deep lying forward, I think, instead. Confirm those 2 changes. We'll move up to attacking as well. I really want the 3 points today. Hereford, though, want 3 points themselves. And from the free kick they've just had, they've gone 2-1 up with 20 minutes to go in today's game. And they've come out of nowhere because we have dominated the proceedings in today's game. But all of a sudden, Hereford have turned it around with 2 of their centre-backs scoring the goals. We've got a free kick of our own now. Coley puts it into the area, which is cleared, but only as far as Dutton, France. Into Wakely, back to Turiak. Now, Turiak out to Dutton, France, who's probably not got a good cross on him. Neither's Wakely, so they play it more central into Howell, into Brown, into Coley, who shoots from the edge of the area. Superb save from the goalkeeper. Belcher tackled on the edge of the area, and they clear it. Although we do pick up a free kick on the edge of the area, but no highlight for it. We are going to say demand more out there. If we lose it from this position, I'm going to be so upset after being 1-0 up in this game for so long. And we limited them to 1 shot for the whole first half, but they've really come alive, Hereford, in the second half. And as the clock ticks down, don't think we're going to do it. Which means that out of nowhere, we've lost 4 games in a row. And I think that's the worst bit of form that we've been in all season. So perhaps the first half of the season that's been really good, perhaps it's all starting to come crashing down us now as we hit the reality of being in the National League and only being a part-time side of the National League and really having no right to be where we are on the table. But Hereford are going to be loving it as they're only 1 point away from the playoffs now. Leyton Orient now, they're also looking at Mark Mason. I don't like this. Who's interested in him? Stevenage, Leyton Orient and Luton apparently. We need to try and keep hold of him. So I've got to say, a bit of a disappointment recently, but with games against Newport, Torquay, Wrexham and Kingstonian coming up in the next few games, we should be winning 3 of those. We should beat Newport, Torquay and Kingstonian. Wrexham in 5th, that's going to be tough, but we need to win at least 3 of those next 4 games. Next episode, we're going to go into January, and I think what we might do, we played Woking and Scunthorpe already early on this season, actually, so we won't do that. We'll do Yeovil and Crawley, I think, next episode. We could go through and do Scunthorpe and York, but at the same time, that'd then 8 games or 9 games, including the cup game, potentially more cup games to play in between episodes, and that seems like a long way to go. So we'll do Yeovil and Crawley next episode. So thank you very much for watching today's episode. Things are still going well. We're still sitting very nicely mid-table. There's still a long way to go this season, so we can still try and make a push for the playoffs. I don't think it's likely, but I think we're sitting all right this season. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you do drop a like on the video for me and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And I'll see you next time for some more Lincoln Loco action.